Hello, family. Welcome to another devotional with Dad. I call them another devotional on Hump Day or ADHD. This is a second edition, and what I want to talk to you today about is, well, actually ask you a question. Have you ever been faced in your lives with a situation that seemed just utterly hopeless? That was really bad and you had no way out of the situation at all? Well, I have, and I've had a few of them that I want to share with you. You're familiar with them, I'm sure. And the first one would be I was out of work for about 4 months, and I didn't think I was going to be able to find a job or a good job that would feed my family. And I felt really helpless and hopeless. And the second one was when I was in Chicago. I was at a convention, and I received a phone call that said, your son's been in a car accident and he might not make it. So I remember on the plane ride back, I felt such helplessness and such hopelessness. Uh, just went through my whole body, and I just didn't see any good coming out of it. And the third thing was, I have a grandson that was born with an affliction, and I was told uh, on a few times that he wouldn't make it. He probably might not make it. And if he does, he wouldn't lead a normal life. And I felt empty, and I felt very, very alone and very hopeless. Uh, so what I've been studying is I've been studying the Old Testament. And in the Old Testament, there are many situations where characters of the Bible or people of the Bible have been faced with really serious, hopeless situations. Just to name a few, Joseph was thrown in a pit by his brothers and left for dead. And Moses was cornered at the Red Sea, and the most powerful army in at that time was breathing down his neck to kill him. And Jonah was thrown in a whale, and 5,000 people were hungry and had to be fed when Christ was preaching to them and teaching them. Peter was a coward, and Lazarus was dead, and Timothy was too young, and Abraham was too old, and David faced a mighty giant, and the walls were too tall and too strong of Jericho. And Daniel was thrown in a lion's den and to be eaten, and Jesus was buried in a tomb. Joseph, second in command. Well, I'm sorry, let's start out here. Those were hopeless situations that I just mentioned. And where we tend to put a period at the end of those sentences that I just mentioned, we tend to put a period. God, he puts a comma, and he has a way of fixing certain situations in our lives. Just like he fixed those three things for me. I have my son, I have a normal grandson, and I got a job that paid better money than I had before I was laid off, and allows me to be retired and do what I do today. But those other situations in the Bible I just mentioned, they didn't turn out so bad either. Joseph ended up getting out of that pit, sold as a slave, and was second in command in the most powerful army in the world. The Red Sea parted. Goliath's head was presented on a platter. Daniel tamed the lions in the lion's den. Lazarus, he was raised from the dead. Abraham built a family. The walls of Jericho came a-tumbling down. Jesus rose from the dead, and 5,000 people were fed, and there were leftovers. So the point here, the big point I want to make on this whole devotional is that God is there for us. If we would just pray and we would just go to him for help, he is someone that can help us in those hopeless situations. He's the only one that can turn a mess into a message. He can turn trial into triumph, and he can turn a victim into victory. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. My time is up. I love you guys to death. God bless you all. and I'll see you next time.